Ready, set, go.
And yeah, hi there, it's Nick and
Mandy.
And Adriana.
today we are assessing a little terraced house on 43 Sumner Street, Atherton. The plan is to do a condition assessment of the property. And as ever, the format is that I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk this through. Mandy is the nominated contractor for this project. So the idea is that if you're happy with everything, you'll eventually give her the contract, which would be good. And for you, because Mandy's good and she'll get this done. So the idea is we're going to just work out what needs doing and just get a general condition assessment. And then as the viewer, you walk through it with us and you form your own opinion as to where the priorities are and so on. And then what'll happen is Adriana will take this recording and she'll start itemizing the items that need to be done on a spreadsheet. And then that spreadsheet is the thing that we evolve with you as a client to prioritize certain things so that ultimately there's a bill of works, which everyone agrees upon, that's optimal for making the property as rentable as possible to maximize rent and to minimize costs of renovation. So there's quite a lot of moving parts to make all this work, and this is step one. Do you want to add to any of this, Mandy, before we get stuck in?
No, that's absolutely fine.
Well, maybe you could do an intro about you and your experience in contracting and so on, and that would give everyone.
Sorry, excuse me.
Clear the throat, get ready for the speech.
Sorry, get ready for the speech, guys. Yeah, absolutely. No, I've been in this game for a long time. Renovating hat properties, doing end of tenancy stuff, getting properties ready for, for new tenants moving in, dealing with investors who are buying up properties ready to, all this buy to let. So yeah, we have a lot of experience in that field. Depending on what kind of budget you're looking at doing, whether that's low, high, and we get the properties up to a really good rentable standard, which always attracts decent tenants who are going to respect your property, basically. So yeah, and we always like to get these contracts in place so everybody knows where they stand, the job's done on time, completed on time, and everybody's happy. So yeah.
So Mandy, how big is the operation then? Because I think you've got different crews doing different projects.
Yeah, we have painters, we've got joiners, we've got plumbers, we have people that do the gas safe registered, so they'll go in and do the gas safety checks and supply the certificates. We've got the we've got electricians who will go in and check all the electrics and make sure, all that's safe, and they'll issue certificates, which is a legal requirement now for letting properties. So yeah, we've got a good team of people that get the job done. As soon as we agree a start date, we get in there, we get it done, and we get out and, get the tenant in, and everybody's happy, hopefully.
I just want to add to this. One of the reasons Mandy is successful is because she's a very good communicator. She looks after the tradespeople that she works with, and they respect her, and they want to do the jobs that she gives them, which is a critical point. So that's why they're reliable, and thus that's why Mandy is reliable, and that's why she gets the majority of our renovation work, because she's very good. So
and I don't just dish the work out, by the way. I do get stuck in and project manager. I get stuck in and I also do the work as well. So yeah, it's good.
It is good. So the way, just to be very clear, Mandy gets, as I said, the vast majority of the work. She gets all the work. So Mandy's specialization would be anything above, say, £2,500. Anything above that, up to maybe £30,000. So I suppose the line you would draw is you're not getting involved in structural work and
No.
that kind of bigger long-term stuff. And we have another contractor. So we have a contractor for the Manchester area who does the sub 2,500 work. Then it's Mandy for 2,500 up to about 30,000. Then above 30,000, we have another contractor called Joe who deals with like bigger structural, longer duration works. I think where you're really successful, Mandy, is you're just very good at kind of hit and run, as in get the job, hit it
Yeah.
hard, run it through quickly, and then off you go, get the thing rented out.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely. Because time's money for clients as well, you know, and we're very aware of that. And the client is, you know, the most important thing, you know, so we don't want jobs dragging out. You know, it doesn't work for the client, it doesn't work for us. You know, we're busy as a company, so you know, we want to get in there, get the job done, and get out. You know, and with really strong communication, if anything changes or anything else, you know,
yeah.
pops up for whatever reason, you know, that's very much what we're about.
Yeah, and also just finally on this thread, sorry if there's loads of racket in the background. Finally on this thread, this all goes right upstream as well. So we always avoid properties with a lot of structural unless a client is specifically interested in that, just because of the risk return ratio. It's not great. And that's ultimately why, when it comes to, say, the Greater Manchester catchment, Mandy gets all the work, actually. We accept the small stuff under 2.5 grand. So there it is. Anyway, right, let's get into it and we'll start doing the assessments. I'm going to share a screen. And the way we'll do it is we're going to start with the survey report. We're going to leaf through this. And as ever with these survey reports, the way it works is that the surveyor just wants to flag up issues with damp, structure, roof, and all of that sort of stuff. But it's a slightly different emphasis to what a contractor is interested in, believe it or not. So, but there's a huge amount of crossover. So we're going to do this and then we'll kind of work our way through. Now, one of the other issues with this property, or an issue with this property, is that there's very little photographic information. Now, we do have this, but this is it. Literally, it's like that's that. That's all we have of the property. We have a viewer viewings, I think, that information, and helpfully Mandy has taken some videos and some pictures, and we're going to talk through all of that in some detail in a minute. But step one, we get into the viewing stuff. Oops. And where is it? Here we are. Okay, so let's have a look. And here we are. So it's these pages. I've done a survey assessment of this, I think. I get through quite a lot of these, and generally there's an awful lot of verbiage in them. And so I'll just leaf through this because, as I said, we could go on about it, but as I say, I'm leafing through it. So it's quite an old house. It's about 110, 120 years old. And generally that means that damp proofing had to be done retrospectively. Build quality is always so-so with these things. And what you're always hoping is that somebody else did the heavy work in it, i.e. the ripping out the old plaster work, putting in new plaster work, ripping out the old electrics, putting in new electrics, and so on, because it's very expensive, this stuff, and it's disruptive. And so what we're always looking for are houses that have had the heavy lifting done already, and so that you don't have to do it. And therefore it's, I guess the ideal property is a property that scares off an owner occupier. They think it's much worse than it is, but in fact it's in reasonable condition. So I'm just, as I said, I'm just leafing through this because I want to just grab onto a few things. So okay, this is quite interesting. See if I can zoom in. Yes, I can. So he's talking about step cracks. That's a significant point. Do you remember seeing that? And have you got any thoughts about this, Mandy?
Yeah, I've taken a picture of it.
Mhm.
I think the thing with step cracks is it can be a number of things. I mean, what's the property built on?
As in what the foundation substrate
Yeah,
is, whether it's clay or I don't know.
yeah.
I do know
The-
that if it was bigger than this, I would have been a
If it was
no.
bigger than this, I'd worry because
Mhm.
what happens with step cracks, it can be an issue with a foundation,
Mm.
but then it could just be a settlement. What you also get with step cracks as well, which usually happen a bit higher up if it's anything to do with the roof. So the weight bearing of the roof, you know, if the roof slips slightly or you've got quite a lot of pressure up there. So you've got quite a lot of downforce, which creates pressure.
Yeah.
This particular step cracks are always, you know, a concern to keep an eye on. What I would do with this is I would keep an eye on whether this is getting any bigger.
Mm.
I think that's where the issue is there. The other issue with this is because it's a crack, there's obviously, you know, a potential for water ingress.
Yeah, so it needs repointing, doesn't it?
So it needs repointing. So I think what we do is we repoint, we keep an eye on it.
Mm.
You know, it could be that there's been some movement at you know, below, but
Mm.
that's all kind of settled now.
Okay. Well, the surveyor is saying there's a step crack and it's an issue, but he's not saying it's a red alert. He's just saying
Yeah.
it's here.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's why I'm not too worried about it. And so it's a
Yeah.
repointing thing, and then
Repoint.
just
Yeah.
watch it and periodically check it up. Okay, and then we have this. Now, here's a question actually. For the rear of the property, it's got this cement render on it. What sort of condition is that in?
So just as a disclaimer, we couldn't get into the back of the property when we
Oh,
visited.
really?
I had to go with the estate agent, and there was no back door keys. I
Hmm.
still don't have those back door keys. Apparently, they're in the property. I now have front door keys, but we couldn't get in the back. We couldn't access the gate at the back. So yeah, I've
Mm.
not been able to view the back of this property, you know, properly at all.
All right. Well, you will be going back there again, assuming the
Yeah,
client wants you to work on this.
yeah.
So, but I think based on your depth of experience with these things, if there are some cracks in the cement render, I don't think, what would you do with that? Would you try and seal it or just leave it
Yeah,
alone?
generally we just try and seal it. Cracks in render can be a problem because if there's anything going on with the bricks behind,
Yeah.
water gets in and then it seeps everywhere, you know, and it's just not great. So we'll just fill them. We could either put a silicone in there just to prevent water ingress, or we can repoint it, just fill it basically.
Okay, so as a general thing to do, is it worth sealing and repainting this exterior wall? So paint it
Uh,
with some,
yeah, we could
excuse
get a
me.
water you can get a sealant that, gives it a nice protective layer. So when you
Mm.
put the paint over, it's more watertight than what it would be right now.
Okay, so as a potential option, and again, we're looking at these because, yeah, you couldn't get into the rear of the property. So this is a potential task, which is to put some kind of heavy duty exterior weatherproofing sealant, maybe a magnolia or white or something, I don't know, a
Yeah,
color. And that would also then seal up all the cracks and stuff as well. So then you've got a protective layer which will last minimum 10 years
yeah.
to just, then you can forget about the issue, as it were. Is that something worth considering as a task?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's
Okay,
looking quite tatty as well, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
you know,
That's why I'm thinking if you just get on and just paint the whole lot, then
yeah,
it's done and you don't have to think about it again for a long time. Um, okay, so we got that, and then we've got some double glazing here. That all kind of looks okay. Is this door either very small or is it UPVC door? Do you know?
It's a UPVC door, but again, I've not been able to open it. So
Well, we
Yeah.
assume it'll open with key.
yeah, it looks like a normal size door.
All right, so that's that. And then the next question is right, so we've got some pictures. We'll just zoom into these anyway, just for the sake of. Now, one of the problems with these survey pictures is the resolution is always terrible. So it's difficult to really judge what's going on. And therefore relying on pictures from Mandy. So here's a good example of something which we'll talk about later, which is the sealing up the windows properly so that there's no water ingress. I'm quite curious to see pictures of the backyard. And there is a picture of the backyard, but let's see if we can find something more helpful. All right, there's our door. It's probably, if it's UPVC, it's probably okay. So it's just a question of making sure it's all sealed in properly, presumably.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I really want to see is the rear yard. And once we have a look at that, then let's get into the loft space issue. All right, so we talked that through, so we know what that means. It's really messy in the backyard. So did you see into the backyard? I presume you did. So what's going on there?
Well, there's still a lot of rubbish in the backyard. Oh, that's still there.
That's what's going on there.
Yeah.
So
all that's still there. The backyard is really, really quite bad. And there's a lot of rubbish underneath the stairs inside the property.
Okay. And these paving slabs, a lot of these need replacing. If we just start with the house end and kind of work our way through.
Yeah.
So the first thing is this lot, this paved area. Do you think it needs to be taken up and replaced? It looks like it does.
It's awful. It's awful. I mean, the thing is, I always think about if somebody moves in that property with kids, you know, look at the state of them. It's an accident waiting to happen. And
it is.
You know.
Yeah, and there's a legal obligation on the part of the landlord to provide safe and comfortable housing. So safe is no trip hazards like this. Okay, so just to give us an idea, Andy, let's just talk about this paving area for a few minutes. Right, tell us, what would you do with it?
I'd take them up straight away. I think what we need to, I'd take them up. And then if you look at the kind of subfloor underneath, that's not great either.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
So the option is take them up and reflag the whole area.
Okay.
Because it's going to need a new gate as well, I think, because I think the gate's a bit worse for wear.
Okay. Well, just dwelling on this, what sort of general cost implication will there be? Is there like a cost per square meter number that you know about for this kind of?
We'd have to measure it up. I mean, off the top of my head, I couldn't even begin to tell you because the fluctuation in materials at the minute is ridiculous. You can say one thing, you could say one thing one week, the next week it's completely different. So what I would do is when I can get access to this back garden is measure it properly. You know, and get price up materials. You just get a proper figure because I don't like to back things about off the top of my head for this at all.
I understand, and I understand. So actually, and today is about gathering requirements, not putting numbers together, because that's where the next phase in the process is all about. It's the next phase is the numbers. Okay, so just in terms of solutions, is it better to obviously pull up these paving slabs? Is it better to put a concrete slab down or redo the paving slabs on a proper substrate?
Yeah, I mean, you'd kind of have to level all this out underneath anyway. But I mean, you don't have to go mentally expensive with flags that you can put down. You can put the
Mm.
flags down that the council used to use.
Yeah,
Which,
those
like you
grey
say, the
concrete
concrete
things.
flags, yeah,
Yeah.
you can do, they're quite big, to be fair.
Mm.
So yeah, you could use those and try and keep the cost down and stuff. So, but again, I'd have to price all that up.
Okay, so let's just kind of aim for a best solution for this problem. Is
Yeah,
it a concrete slab, just a
yeah.
poured concrete slab, or is it paving slabs, the larger council paving slabs?
Yeah, I'd go with that. I mean, again, dependent on price, you might be able to get something that looks a bit nicer.
Mm.
I'm not kind of sure what the price angle is at the minute with this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'd
Okay.
I'd, I'd take all them up definitely. There's no way you can repair them. Take it up,
Yeah.
keep everything at the same level as what those were originally.
Mm.
Yeah, and just get it all looking nice and tidy with no
So
trip hazards.
so my question is, if we know that this has to happen because this is dangerous, and as a landlord, you provide this kind of stuff, you've got a problem waiting to happen. But my question is, in terms of a solution, is it best to just have replace the slabs with new slabs, or would it be better to create a concrete pour, basically, like pour a load of
Ah,
concrete in and
right.
have a
Okay.
concrete
Yeah, I get
slab?
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
So put a concrete screed down instead of
yeah, yeah.
replacing it with flag. Uh, I'd probably flag it if I'm honest. I think it'll just
Why?
look far better.
Okay. All right, and I'm with you on this, and but for another reason, and that is that if you ever have to get underneath this, if it's concrete, you've got a problem. If it's
Yeah. Yeah.
flagstones, you can lift a stone up, you can start
Yeah.
digging, and put it
Yeah.
back.
I don't think
So
the subfloor is that great, to be honest. And to pour concrete on that, and then I think it's just going to be. Look, I mean, it's just
yeah,
not great, is it?
okay, so that's good. Now the next question is, we've got this wall here, and it's previously been painted. We've got some ivy and so on. What would you do with all of this?
I'd probably cut it all back and paint the walls.
Okay, that's another
Depends if you
task.
like ivy or not.
I
I mean,
think,
it's not doing anything
yeah,
there at all beneficial, is it?
no.
No.
So all of these concrete fence wally
Paint them
things, you
white.
would paint up. Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you, just so I'm clear on this, what would you paint them with? Is there some sort of special concrete, like
No, you
all
just use a
weather?
masonry paint, which is quite
Right.
watertight. Masonry paint
Okay.
is quite shower-proof quite quickly as well. So, the UK weather, if you do start to get a little bit of rain, it is shower-proof quite quickly. So yeah, it's just masonry paint.
Okay, cool. And also looking over, uh, it's hard. Well, you can kind of see here, there's something going on here, some concrete or something. You've got paving slabs going out to the back, and we'll talk about the gate in a moment. You've got these paving slabs going out to the back, so they need replacing as well.
Yeah.
And you've got gravel edging, that's just tidy up, remove the weeds, I presume, and just make it beautify it. But something I'm not really clear about is this area here. So you've got the paving slabs going out to the left, then you've got this paved area here, and then you've got whatever is here. Is that concrete or
Looks like
grass?
concrete, so it looks like the whatever's underneath the flags. I think it's where most of the flags are missing and broken, and
Hmm.
whether they've had, what do you call it, artificial grass down there, or whether they've
Yeah.
kept that space for a specific reason. The problem I've got is I've not physically been able to go out in that back garden and have a proper look.
Okay. So, but what would, as you know, watching this, the game plan is we set requirements and we go from there. So,
Yeah.
so I would suggest a requirement is obviously remove the rubbish, but another requirement is make good that whole area in the corner. And I suggest if you're doing one paved area and the paving slabs aren't too expensive, then pave the whole lot, and then it's a
Yeah.
problem solved forever.
Do you know what I'd do there, Nick? Just to
Yeah.
make it aesthetically pleasing as well. I'd flag that, and I'd kind of keep a board around the edge and maybe put some chippings down just to make it look nice and presentable. You know, just so it's not like a concrete jungle, basically, just to make
Nice.
it have a bit more appeal. And then once you've painted up the walls and put a new gate on, you know, it's just going to have a bit more appeal, I think.
Okay, that sounds, yeah, that's a very good idea. And that also gives scope for adding some plants in if you
Yeah,
wanted to, and so
yeah.
on. So you could do that. All right, so the requirement would be remove the rubbish, make good this whole area, and pave the whole area. Have a border which would be, how many millimeters wide would the border be roughly?
I would say you could do about 500 mil, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. I was
Yeah,
thinking 400, 500, that kind of thing
yeah,
would be perfect. Okay, so that's the requirement for that. That's great. And obviously, now we're on to the next question, which is the gate.
yeah.
The gate. And let's see if we can get a better picture of the gate. Here it is. Yes, it's rotted. So new gate. Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. That's good. Now let's move on. And there we've got a picture of the whole backyard. That's helpful. Thank you, Surveyor, for doing that. All right. Yeah, definitely the border, the paving slab in the area, that would be nice. And this, whatever they did here was just a fail because it's just goopy and yucky and yeah.
Yeah.
Great. All right. And the benefit as well, yeah, no, that's great. And then you have a little dining area outside. White, paint that whole thing white. I think that would be a very nice area to be in. Get
Yeah,
rid of
you could put a
the
little
ivy.
two-seater, little white round table out there. You know, anybody can do
Mm.
whatever they want out there, can't they? But it just makes that rear area more appealing, especially if
Good.
you've got kids as well. You want somewhere that the kids can go outside and
Mm.
play safely.
And as a landlord, the reason you might want children is because when families settle down, they stay put. And then because the disruption moving, the disruption in moving is too great and they just want to have a quiet life. And it works really well because the other option is you get professionals, young professionals, and on the face of it, sounds great. But the problem with young professionals is they're young, they're finding their way in life, and they have disagreements, they break up or whatever, and so on, and you just get a lot more churn. Families are wonderful because they stay put. So if you make a property family friendly, it's a good thing. Now, okay, let's deal with all of the window frame stuff shortly. We'll just have a look at the loft area because I think we need to cover that off. And then we get into your photographs, Mandy. All right, well, that's a mess, to say the least. So what would you do about this, Mandy?
Well, a minimum of insulation you should have, I think it's about 270 mil. But actually, it could be even thicker than that. Really, you should have about 330 in there. But, you know, you can get away with 270. But again, you can see the party wall there. The reason these are bricked up properly is to prevent fire from spreading from property to property. And that doesn't look great. But I mean, the state of that insulation in there, it's kind of non-existent. I don't know what's going on in there at all. I'd start again.
Okay, so the requirement is to take out the insulation, the existing insulation, remove all the dust and shite in there.
Yeah.
So presumably for that kind of work, you would have a big industrial vacuum cleaner. Is that how you do it? And then you just suck up, you
I
pull
mean,
out
all
the,
this stuff.
bag up the insulation, but everything left over, the dust and shit. do you then vacuum that up? Is that how you do
Yeah,
it?
because it is a messy job, this, to be honest. It's not one I particularly like doing, but I'll
No.
send somebody else up there.
It's because you're the boss, Mandy.
Because I'm the boss. But yeah, we won't say it like that. I would if I needed to, you know,
Yes.
to take one for the team. But there you go. But no, you'd bag all this up, get it all, because the fibres as well from this stuff is just horrendous. It's not great.
Mm.
So you get all that bagged up, and then yeah, we just get an industrial hoover up there, hoover up all the excess dust, etc. So the house isn't getting covered in it either.
Yeah. It's
but
such
yeah.
an important job. It's one of those things that people don't touch for like 100 years, and
No.
you got
Well,
lots
look
of
at the
soot
state of
and
that.
yucking. Yeah, it's awful. So anyway, the other thing to say about this is that the tenant won't even know, and arguably you would say, well, how's that going to improve my rent? Well, they will store stuff up in there. And so one of the other things you might do, because it's a small house, is maybe board it out a little bit, and then people can store a few things up there, perhaps. I don't know. What about this? So, okay, so just so we set the requirements, and also, dear client, for you watching, the way it works is we set lots of requirements. We then put it all on a spreadsheet. And then we begin the back and forth where it's like, do we really want this? Okay, let's not do that, or let's do a cheaper version of that, or whatever the thing is. And we work out what the minimum viable, the optimal viable choices are, and that equals an end result and an end cost. So, all right, with all of this, so it's pull out the rock wool or whatever the insulation, clean everything and reinstall. And then do we add in a thing about boarding out a little area around the loft hatch or
You could
not?
do, yeah, you could do. I mean, you know, what people tend to do is they get on a pair of step ladders, set of step ladders, and they'll go push it in, and they'll try and push it as far as they can. Do you know what I mean? To store, but then, you know, like you say, if you board around this, it's just easy, isn't it? People don't tend to
Yeah.
get into lofts; they don't climb in. They'll just push things in. But I mean, whoever's pushed this in, is that a Christmas tree at the back?
Yes, right at the back. And so this highlights another point that if you've got people, tenants, kind of gingerly stepping along the rafters,
Yeah,
that's
they'll
going
fall through.
to, yeah, and then you've got a real problem because as a landlord, you've got to sort this out. And
Yeah.
that's just not cool. So, okay. So it's probably a good idea to board it out and insulate and then board out. Now we're on to the next question, which is this party wall. Um, what do you think, Mandy?
I have been in a few properties that are like this. The survey will say this needs to be done because it's a fire hazard. If next door had a fire, you know, it's to prevent the spread of fire. It needs bricking up. I mean, that access there, you can access next door's roof.
Yeah, so we've got two issues. We've got a security risk and we've got a fire risk. So if we deal with security risk first, and one of the problems is that you're trying to get something quite big in through a small hatch. So the loft hatch, do you remember how big it was?
It's not very big.
Right, is it big enough? It must be by
It's big enough
definition
to
of this
get, you
Christmas
know,
tree.
into the loft. Yeah, it's big enough to get and stuff into the loft. Yeah, but it's not like a massive opening like you'd have if you had loft stairs.
So where I'm going
Loft
with this
ladder.
is, what if you didn't actually put bricks up there and didn't do the bricking up, but actually got strips of plasterboard. So in other words, patches, cut the plasterboard so it is as big as it can possibly be to get through the loft hatch. And then this being fire retardant plasterboard, and then fix the plasterboard onto the brick wall and fix it here so that you've got a seal, and then you've got some security and you've got a fire seal, and it didn't cost too much to do.
Yeah, yeah, it's an option. Definitely, especially if it's fire retardant plasterboard. So, yeah, that's an option actually.
So if you were thinking,
I mean, it doesn't create plasterboard, isn't as strong as brick, obviously, from the security point of view. But I mean, you know, I'm sure there's
well,
not
if
going to be many
someone's,
people trying to smash the plasterboard
yeah.
off the wall to get into next doors.
So there's a couple of issues here which are to do with party wall agreements in effect. So in other words, everything on your side of the wall, dear client, is yours. But if you start doing stuff like bricking up and you brick on their side of the wall, so imagine you got 50%, 50-50, I assume. So somebody is responsible for this wall. And I don't know whether it's next door or you or both. Sometimes walls are split in the middle, virtually, as it were.
Yeah.
But the issue is that if you do something very permanent, like you break everything up, and the neighbor, well, Mandy, we had this the other week, didn't we, on that
Yeah, we
contract with the
did.
back
Yeah, we
wall?
did.
Same issue.
We were
Yeah, do you want to
repairing the
explain?
wall because it was a hazard. And the neighbour came out screaming that it was her wall. So the fact was, she wasn't interested in having the wall repaired. She was more interested in the fact that it was her wall. And we offered to repair the wall for free, just to prevent any of the bricks falling on, you know, if kids were going to be in the house or anybody walking past that wall, to be fair. But she just wasn't interested. And we couldn't do anything about it. We've had to leave it because she's responsible for the wall.
Yeah, so where this all goes is that the less invasive you are, the better.
Yeah.
And therefore, if it was me, and I'm deferring to you in a minute, but if it was me, I would just use fire retardant plasterboard, seal up the doorway or whatever with that, and then seal it up, seal the brick at the top of the bricks here. Just seal up the air gap, just shove your plasterboard in. It's not going to
Yeah.
look beautiful, but it doesn't really have to. And then if for some reason there's some issue with the neighbor and they complain, just take the plasterboard off. Otherwise,
Yeah.
leave it on, and then at least you covered the fire risk and the security risk issues. And it shouldn't
Yeah.
cost that
It
much to
looks
do.
like there's some board at the back there going on, to be fair. So I don't know if this has been
Yeah.
fixed to it previously and it's dropped off or
Yeah, something of that nature.
yeah.
Just so are we saying that is the solution, Mandy, or have you
Yeah,
got
I would
another
do
idea?
that because then we're dealing with it from our side of the property and not their side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say it's fire retardant plasterboard, and I think from memory, Mandy, there are different grades of plasterboard, so you can get like half hour fire retardant plasterboard. Is
Yeah,
that
you
right?
can get fire retardant plasterboard. Yeah, it's like you can get marine board, aqua board. You know, so if you're boarding out shower rooms and stuff, that's
Yeah.
water resistant. So yeah, there's lots of different types. Acoustic
Yes.
board. Yeah, there's all kinds of different plasterboard you can get. But yeah, fire retardant would be definitely the one we'd use up there.
It probably takes, my guess is it would be 2 sheets of plasterboard strip cut
Yeah.
into sections, and then you just.
Yeah.
And how would you fix it onto the wall?
We could dot and dab actually onto the
Yeah.
wall. I think that would be the easiest option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
Dot
be
and
the
dab.
easiest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it means that if in a fire situation, the dot and
If
dab
some,
isn't going to go, yeah, that'll
yeah.
hold, won't it? And as opposed to fixing it with screws or whatever, dot and dab has got, the pressure is more dispersed, which is a
Yeah.
good thing, and it'll hold better. Okay, great. So that's that. Right, we're all sorted on that front. Now, this is a relatively modern roof because it's got underfelt. That's a good thing, and therefore that's good. Now, any other comments about the roof itself? Did you take, well, let's go into your stuff now.
I didn't go in the loft, if I'm completely honest. I just went off what the
I know.
survey had done.
Yeah, I know. And
Spiders are too big up there, Nick.
I understand. I
There's
turned 3,
different
but I
spiders
understand.
that live in lofts than opposed to living in the rest of the
Yeah,
house.
well,
I have this opinion that I don't know if you ever watched Arachnophobia, that one of those lives up there. So I tend to try not to go
well,
up.
my daughter is like, no, I get it. You know, sometimes you just have these things, and it's just,
Yeah.
I have an issue with don't know. I'm sure I have a phobia of some sort or other. I just can't remember what it is right now.
You have a phobia of the internet not working.
Yeah, I do have phobias. I have phobias about not knowing things, and
Yeah.
not phobia. You know what I mean? Like I just need to be in control of things. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm just things get
We
you.
would have
All
never
right.
guessed. We would have never guessed.
Yeah, well, this is why we do these assessments, because we're being thorough and methodical, and we cover as much as we can, because then for you, the client, there's no surprise. It's just,
Yeah.
here you are, we've got it covered, we know what's going on. Right, let's talk about your pictures. So the very first thing is obviously that needs doing, I assume. That's why you
They're all
photographed
like
it.
that, yeah. All the lintels, they're all like that.
On a positive note, after 1900, you got a lot of these around, so they're strong, which is good. So they're not, you know, it's just a good thing. Also, this is nice brick, or it
Yeah.
appears to be. Is that your feeling?
Yeah,
Nice brick?
it's, look at the comparison to next doors.
Yeah,
It's quite worn, and this is, yeah,
it's good
it
quality.
looks nice.
What's going on here?
I think that's the old Amex box.
Right.
At 9X they used to call it, didn't they? So where all the wires go in and for the internet or the Sky,
Okay.
the TV and stuff. So it just needs tidying up. You can
Yeah.
see a couple of holes in the wall there, which need filling up, I think, just to prevent water ingress. You can see the DPC's been done, but again,
The holes need. Yeah.
they need filling, yeah.
Okay. And same story, tidy up
Yeah,
and
wires
holes in
tidy up.
places. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are nice quality bricks, actually.
Yeah.
I have a thing about bricks, because if the bricks in a building are bad, the building is bad, because the bricks are the building, if that makes sense. And these are
Yeah.
good bricks, so that's a good thing. There's our little friend.
Yeah.
Hello, old friend. That that looks like an old stepped crack to me.
Yeah. So what we could do there is repoint it. I'd be probably more inclined to you can put, it's like a silicone. So it's what you use to damp proof basically. So we
Right.
could make that crack slightly wider, get some silicone in there and then repoint it just to be sure. Because there's a crack there right on that bottom brick there as well. So I'd probably,
Okay.
I'd do that. Just get it a bit more watertight, I think.
Yeah, and in the long term that helps because of a freeze thaw action and all that.
Yeah.
You just keep the water out, and it doesn't. But overall, the pointing looks like it's in good condition, generally speaking, which is a good thing.
There's just bits and bobs. I mean, like I say, the holes at the bottom. Yeah. And then here, I think there's a little bit of damp on the survey that's going on around this door area from from inside. And this could
Right.
definitely be the cause of it.
Okay, so would you remove and okay, so there's a general job here, which is all window frames, checking the quality of the silicone. Would you leave the silicone that's good enough alone, or would you strip out all the silicone and replace, knowing that the silicone will decay
Yeah,
in the
I'd
next
leave it
5
well
years?
alone. If the stuff that's there is good, we'd strip out the bad stuff and then just reseal. Just
Fine.
creating a nice seal again, because otherwise there's no point taking it all out if it's good. It's doing its job.
Okay.
But you can see clearly where it's not doing its job. So
Yeah. Good. All right.
even the pointing around the bricks there as well, that's going to need repointing.
Yeah, this kind of decay here.
Yeah.
And here and here. Okay, but in the big picture of things, it's not that much work to do. needs doing, but it's not a huge task. Okay. And we've got a video now. Oh, good. You've got, all right. This is good. I was kind of pondering, thinking, did you do the interior? And you did, because it's
I
6
did.
minutes 20.
Oh, hang
Now,
on. Please.
Oh,
I'll turn it
Mandy.
back in a minute. So just bear with me on this video.
I hope so.
It will go back. I don't know what I was doing, but
I know one has to be very present with these things.
I'm experimenting, Nick.
Well, yes, it's called being creative. I don't know if
Yeah.
you watch any of these avant-garde films, but you get a lot of this kind of stuff going on. It just adds to the atmosphere. All right, there's a little, okay, let's just deal with this area first. And in we go. What's that door like?
Okay.
It's UPVC, isn't it? So
Yeah.
by that definition, it's good.
Well, I think it's composite door, that front one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you explain the difference between UPVC and composite?
So composite is a much more stronger structure. It's more secure. PVC doors and composite doors are secure, but you get a lot more colours with the composite as well. Whereas PVC, you generally go with white. You're kind of restricted to white. It's a bit more flimsier, whereas composite is a lot more solid.
Is composite like a fiberglass or something like that?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's
skin?
a fiberglass. Yeah, so you've got like PVC, fiberglass. Well, yeah, composite. It's a mixture of stuff going on there, but it's just a more solid door, and you can get untold ranges of colours. Do you know what I mean? So it's, yeah, PVC is a cheaper this is more expensive. Composite door would be more expensive.
Okay. And here we have a damp patch, probably from an old leaking pipe or something like that. So it's just painting and decorating. So the hallway, we'll call this thing, needs painting and decorating throughout.
Yeah.
And then we're in here. We've got these doors. Okay, it's quite a lot going on in here. We've got what's
Sorry,
going
I
on in
didn't go
there?
into this cupboard. It does show a debt showing on the, I have put that on the group. There's a debt. There's no electricity on.
Okay. And this circuit board, what is this? Is this an old, how modern is this?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't think it needs replacing. Again, we need to get an electricity check in there.
Yeah, I think it is okay. The reason I say that, the reason I think that is because it's got a dark, semi-transparent door on it.
Yeah.
And underneath, I can just see little black marks, and they're kind of the same size as RCD breakers. So it's 1, 2, 3, etc. And that's encouraging. All right. So I don't think we're going to need to rewire this house, which is a good thing.
So I think there's an electricity supply. I just think there's a massive debt on the meter.
Okay. Well, this takes us into an old chestnut about making sure that Andriana, it's a topic for later, but the one about is, if you're selling the house on, make sure there's whatever. So what do you do about this issue, by the way?
I think whoever's bought the property, generally what would happen is the tenant would move in and they change the electric account over to their name. But whilst we're in there doing work, we need to have electricity on. So we need to find out who the supplier is, and find out where because this looks like, I think is it a prepay? It doesn't even look like it's a prepayment meter. I mean, where would you put? Okay. Usually there's an area where you can either put a card in or a key.
Adriana, would you have a look around and do some research? I mean, we know what it is, EDMI ES-10A or whatever the thing is, and that'll tell us what it is. And then from there, we can kind of work our way back and work out how to deal with it. Okay, fine. So that's that. Now, painting, as I said, painting and decorating throughout. That radiator, what's the deal with that? It just looks really yucky.
Yeah.
is that is that radiator? I'll just pause and there. Okay, what's the story of the has that been overpainted in the past? Because often people do that.
It's just filthy. It's just dirty.
Oh, fine. So it just needs a good clean.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the issues with radiators is that people paint them with vinyl eggshell or whatever, and then they get disgusting, and they're originally they will originally be what's the term? There's a special type of paint. It's not an epoxy resin, but it's a kind of resin-based paint, and you just give it a good clean. All right, fine. Moving on. Okay, this is a bit of a mess. So somewhere there's some howling for that, maybe. Did you see anything?
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
this cupboard to the left, I think that's what's come off there, so that needs to
Yeah.
go back on. So
Fine.
yeah, that's the
So
gas meter.
Fine. What about the walls? What condition were they
Do you
in?
know what? To be honest, I'd keep that grey wallpaper on,
Okay.
and just paint the
yeah.
walls.
Okay, and we have a stove. It doesn't seem to do anything. It's just a, don't know. Is that a, do you think that's a working stove? No, it can't be.
No, I mean, it might be. Again, I had very short time with the estate agent looking at this, but it doesn't look like it's plugged into anything. It looks like it's just a feature.
Okay, fine.
But I can find
And
that out for definite.
all right, what about the floor?
Oh my God. Sorry. So this property is filthy.
Hmm.
Whoever's fitted the flooring in this property, there's no beading round the edge. Can you see?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So
Badly
what
done.
that will create, even though there's supposed to be a certain amount of movement in a floor for heat and cook when the room heats and cools, there's just no beading to keep this floor. Eventually, what's going to happen is it's going to end up splitting.
Yeah. So what do you
So,
suggest?
you could fit beading. You could leave it as it is. I'd suggest trying to
Well,
match up the beading.
okay.
It's just
The beading doesn't
aesthetically as
have,
well. It's
yeah.
not important. It's not a 4 or a 5, but aesthetically it doesn't look very nice. And what happens is, what's happening there is all the rubbish and dirt and dust is just all collecting around the side of the floor.
Okay. So with the beading, would the simple answer be white painted beading?
No, you can get it to match. You'd probably be able to get it to match that grey floor, to be honest.
Okay. And is the floor in reasonable condition?
Yeah.
Does the floor need replacing or is it okay?
No, it just needs a really good clean. I mean, when
Fine.
we get in there, we can sweep everything out, you know, and clear all the rubbish and stuff. But after we've finished, this property is going to need a good clean.
Okay. And you'll be able to find a company, or do you have people who do deep cleaning?
Yeah, who'll be managing this property?
I don't know. Hopefully Layla.
Well, if Layla is, then Layla, I know Layla and Charles Louis do deal with cleaners, because I know that once, you know, a couple of properties, they've had cleaners in after.
Okay. And right, we've got that boiler. I don't know whether it's in good condition or not. So it looks quite old.
Yeah, that'll come with the gas check, that.
So you'll do the gas check.
Yeah.
You would, as part of your service, in part of your renovation service, you would get the electrical system and the gas system checked. And
Yeah,
then we know about the boiler.
certificates.
So how much is a new boiler if it needs one?
It depends. It can range up to anywhere to £3,000, depending, you know.
Okay. And we've got a fire alarm that probably needs replacing. I would imagine it looks very old.
Yeah.
Okay. And we've got some rather tatty cupboards, but if they were cleaned up, would they be adequate? They seem to be.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they just need cleaning up. There's just the tenant's not left it in a great
No, they haven't, have they?
There's a bulb
All
missing
right.
there in one of the spotlights.
And it's painting and decorating throughout the kitchen as well,
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice backyard.
Nice, lovely.
I think it is very high priority to sort out the backyard. I think it'll really bring the property up. Now, what's going on in there? Would that be the double height fridge or something, I suppose?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a cupboard. Now, here's a good example of a thing that generally irritates me, and I don't know if it irritates you, Mandy. It's the one about you've got a cupboard and then it's never been painted or decorated. It's just a nasty, murky little cupboard. You've got some stud wall there. Would you just give that a lick of paint at least?
Yeah,
And
we'd just go over it. We'd just freshen it up.
yeah. Okay, carpets. What's the deal there?
I'd change them.
And I would agree. And if you look here, it's hard to see if you're looking at this on a phone or something, but you can see that the carpet undulates here, which means that it's
Yeah.
basically compressed and worn, and therefore bye-bye carpet, hello new
Yeah, there's a
carpet.
bit of a thing going on with the second step from the top. It's just quite wobbly. So once we get this carpet up,
Yeah.
I need to just investigate that step up there. It just feels a bit loose.
So the tasks for the hallway, the lower of the stairs, is remove the carpet, fix the stair treads properly so they don't creak or move, and also the skirting board here, all of this needs to be painted and decorated.
Yeah.
All woodwork needs to be done. And then recarpeted. And there's our loft hatch, which is reasonably sizable. Now, painting and decorating, again, all walls, this carpet, I assume needs doing, replacing. Now, what's going on here, Mandy?
What they've tried to do is rip off the wallpaper. So sometimes you get a little bit of, oh, there's me. Look, and there we go
You
again.
look beautiful, by the way, just to say. Keep that pose. All right.
Sorry about that. So yeah, what tends to happen sometimes when tenants leave a property, if they've left on good vibes or bad vibes, you know, they'll try to create a little bit of work for the next person. And it looks like that's what they've done in that room by ripping.
As in they're being disruptive.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the quality of the walls? So we'll talk about this thing in a
Some
minute.
of them are okay. Some of them are pretty bad. That wardrobe is absolutely on its last legs.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. So just on
Okay.
this wall, so they've stripped this out. Does this need to be relined or?
Yeah, so what we need
what's
to
the
do is
story?
get the remainder of the wallpaper off and then reline it, and then paint over it, whichever colour we're going with the rest of the room.
And here, for example, this would just simply be repaint rather
Yeah.
than reline. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the quality of the plasterwork, how smooth were the finishes and so on?
Well, you know, they're not perfectly smooth, but they're okay. You know, there's no cause for concern anywhere. So,
Okay, fine. So it's acceptable. All right. So it's paint and decorate all walls, reline that back wall, and then we're on to this thing.
yeah,
So what do you suggest? Just take that out.
I'd take it out. It's not doing anybody any favors. In fact, I'm a bit worried that the doors aren't on properly and they're big, heavy mirrored doors. And I just wouldn't like to be responsible for that wardrobe, if I'm completely honest. But then the other thing is, by taking it out, we don't know what the wall's going to be like at the back. So once we take it out, yeah, I don't know. It might be okay. It's probably, you know, probably be
I think with
okay.
these,
But
these things, you put a probability against it. I'd say there's a 60 to 70% probability it's okay,
yeah,
and needs a little bit of tidying up
yeah,
because there'll be some screw holes and other things. Now this is funny, weird how they tried to paint a bit of it and then they didn't, and whatever.
yeah.
Okay, we're into the bathroom. What's the story here, in your opinion?
Bathroom looks okay, to be fair. What I'd do there is get some steam-proof paint on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It looks okay. It does,
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like
It's probably
in
the
a
best
quite good
room in the
order.
house, actually.
Again, it needs a really thorough clean, and all
Yeah.
windows need to be checked for sealant. So interior sealant and exterior
Yeah.
sealant, so to make sure they're sealed.
And handles
Okay.
as well. We always check all the windows, you know, for the handles. But you can see this flooring has been poorly fitted, you know.
Now, here's an interesting example situation. So within, in my opinion at least, I'd like to get your opinion. This should come out, carpets should go in. Oh,
Yes.
there's a crack. We want to talk about that. Carpets should go back in. Now, the thing about this laminate is it's the same laminate used in the kitchen, I think,
The living room.
or the living room. So presumably what you do is lift it, take it all up, and then store it in the loft. Because if you need to repair any of the laminate downstairs, at least you've got spare and you can replace sections of it.
Yeah.
Because in 10 years' time, that won't be where would you buy it kind of thing. So use that as spares for repairs. Yeah, are we good with that? And then recarpet, obviously. Right. What's the deal with that? That's it's a crack. It's not huge. The surveyor hasn't said it's an issue, but it's there.
We'll just fill it. We'll just fill it. I mean, I see cracks like this all the time in properties. I mean, the thing is, if there's been any settlement issues with this property, it's happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see cracks like these on heavy trafficked houses that sit on heavy traffic roads, just because of the vibrations and stuff. But there's no other cracks anywhere. I don't think it's a major cause for concern. The surveyor's not brought it up as a major cause of concern, so we'll fill it and paint over it.
And do you fill it with polyfiller basically, or do you put a silicone?
Yeah, well, we use Easy Fill, which is a drywall filler, which dries off quite quickly, and you just sand it back and paint over it.
Okay, cool. All right, skirting boards, obviously, skirting. Do we call it these things?
Yeah.
My brain. Skirting. This is skirting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's tried to drill a hole somewhere and there's dust everywhere.
Yeah, it's just on the left-hand side. It's just yeah.
Okay. And radiators look okay, I assume.
Yeah, again, just dirty.
Yeah, yeah, and so for areas where there's quite a lot of traffic, would you go for vinyl mat emulsion or some sort of eggshell? What's your preference?
You can do. You can go with a wipeable paint, which is like an acrylic. Yeah, we could use that in the stairwells, no problem. It's the same paint we'd use in the bathrooms and the kitchens.
Right. Okay. So I'm just looking through this. I think there is no more information. There is a PowerPoint. So we've started putting all this together. This is the layout of the property. It's quite a useful thing to look at. Let's just zoom in a bit and okay. And I think we're kind of there. So this is all right, fine. So you have that area which you talked about. So to recap, as it were, we have paint and decorate this area here. Then we've got the lounge. I can't remember, is this laminate or
the lounge is laminate, yes. So we'd leave that and maybe try and get some beading that matches.
Yeah. And if not, at least white beading, which will match the skirting boards.
Yeah.
And therefore that's that. So yeah. So option 1 matched, option 2 matched with skirting board. But the floor is basically sand, so that's good. Then we've got doors and such. And all the doors, are they okay, by the way?
Yeah, seem pretty okay. They just all need repainting.
Okay, cool. And now we're into the kitchen diner. We've got, I can't remember, does it have gas or electric hob? Can you
I
remember?
think it's gas. I can't remember off the
Okay.
top of my head.
All right. Gas isn't preferable. Electric, like induction, is, but if we have to leave it, we leave it, kind of thing. All right. So generally, the kitchen units are okay. It just needs cleaning up, cleaning out, and then the kitchen is basically good. And painting, redecorating all the walls.
Yeah.
That's roughly that. Okay. And for all windows, we check the sealant on the inside and the outside to make sure they are sealed. And also for exterior, we'll talk about the backyard and exterior in a minute, actually. Now, getting on to upstairs, we've got the carpets which need replacing. We've got the walls which need repainting. All the woodwork needs repainting. And then we're into the landing, and that would need recarpeting. Bathroom doesn't need any attention to speak of.
Just the ceiling painting.
Yeah. And then bedroom 2 has the laminate flooring that needs to be taken up and then stored, because that can be used to repair the lounge laminate flooring in the future, which saves a whole replacement of the whole floor. That's why we do these things. Bedroom 1, new carpet, new painting throughout, etc. And
In the removing work.
that, is there anything else?
I think that the wardrobe.
The wardrobe here.
Oh yeah, that nasty wardrobe needs to go, and we're
Yeah.
not sure what's underneath, but hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah, we need to
And then that needs,
reline the wall and stuff. Yeah, so we're going to have to
oh
get
yeah, that's
skip
right.
higher.
Yeah, so they'll need to be skip. And then we have the backyard, which is get the rubbish out, replace the back gate,
Paint.
create a border, a gravel border, and then have paving slabs throughout the whole backyard, except for the border area, border being 500 mils thereabouts. And that's that so far. Now, one other thing I want to just double check on is the roof. Now, I think the surveyor was okay about the roof. I don't think he mentioned any major issues with it. I don't think.
No, I think we do. I always like to check all the gutters once we're at the property. Obviously we're having some amazing weather at the minute. So I do, when I get the lads on site, I like somebody to go up, make sure all the gutters are clean. Because when we do start having some bad weather, you know, that always will present itself. So we will always check stuff like that.
And trying to work out which property we're on. That's 86. Let's go back to this. Okay. I think for some reason it keeps bouncing me back. Okay. I think this must be Sumner Street.
Yeah, it's not the cobbled street, Sumner, it's the one further along. Yeah, so
Right,
the
so
house
it's-
is the one that's not cobbled.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one of
There we
these.
go.
All right, I can't see the roof. So, all right, I just as a general observation with the roofing, if the roofing is lots of different colors, then it means the original roof was probably a bit suspect. So you can see on this street here, for example, the roofs vary a lot, and on this, but on this one, it's all the same. So, all right, it's just something we need to double check on, but the roof was done relatively recently, so I suspect the roof is fine. And I don't think the surveyor said there was any major roof issues, so I think we're okay on that front. All right, there it is. That was just a kind of mini marathon, but the fact is we've covered off everything. What's your general overview on this property then, in terms of condition and renovation work? We're not naming numbers here. We're just saying, you know, in your experience with all this kind of stuff, how big a project is it?
It's not a massive project. I mean, some of the projects that we're doing at the minute, you know, we've got a couple of properties coming up that out completely outweigh this as a you know, as a renovation. It's not massive amounts of work that need doing. The biggest work is probably flagging the rear yard, and painting the whole property. I mean, we've got to get rid of all this rubbish first, and take the wardrobe out. But it's not a massive job. It's not a massive undertaking. You know, I think once we get the estimate together with what we've recommended, the client can then start kind of going through and going, you know, like for instance, the insulation in the roof. You know, somebody might choose not to do that. They might choose to leave it. The thing, what I will say about the insulation in the roof, once that is changed, it could possibly change the EPC rating. So how much more energy efficient the property becomes. So that could possibly change, and that, you know, it's always beneficial to the tenant if their heating bills are cost less, especially in this day and age at the minute with the price of electricity and gas. So, you know, it's whatever, you know, it's not massive undertakings. The roof is quite a decent sized job, replacing the you know, the insulation and the flagging at the back. Basically, they're probably, you know, the most in-depth jobs that need undertaking.
I think overall, if you think about prioritization, I guess it starts with painting and decorating, recarpeting where necessary. That's absolutely must be done, cannot be avoided. Then you've got the sorting out the loft, and in theory, if you were absolutely tight for money, you could not do that. But it's quite important to at least, it's kind of like 5 out of 5 is the painting, decorating. The loft feels to me, okay, so the next highest priority, which would be 4 out of 5 for me, would be the backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. It's got to be sorted out, that. You know, just for somebody walking in and thinking, I want to live here, I'd like to live here, you know, take away all the safety aspects, which is obviously a 5, you know, just the aesthetics of it. Who wants to sit out in a backyard like that? Nobody.
Yeah. So that's the kind of 4 out of 5. So it's really, what we're saying is you should really just get this done.
Yes.
And then arguably the 3 out of 5 is the loft space, because you don't have to have a proper fire-safe fire break. You don't have to have the security. You don't necessarily have to have the more insulation. But it's one of those things where it's not a huge job, I would imagine. It's like 2 or 3 days, 2 days work, maybe.
Yeah, it's just a dirty job. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not great. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
You know.
And the plasterboarding, it's not a work of art. It just has to be effective at blocking off the area. And also, so then at least you've got call that an insurance policy. So you sort out the fire break, the security, that's your insurance policy, because it could really be important in the future. And then the loft, the insulation and that stuff, I can't remember what the EPC is, but it needs more insulation. So, you know, you should do that anyway. And insulation isn't especially expensive, is it?
No, it's not expensive. It's just obviously getting out the old stuff, and replacing the new stuff. So to buy as a material, it's not overly expensive.
It's just an unpleasant job.
It's just an unpleasant job. So the labour side of it is, you know.
Yeah. So
and obviously we've got to be careful with what electrics are up there. We can't be covering electrics, you know. It's quite a big job, really.
Yeah, and therefore, with it's a couple of £1,000, or at least, we don't know the numbers yet. We're going to price it all up.
We don't know the numbers. I'd have to price it up again. Materials, it's just gone mental. You know, it just changes all the time.
Yeah, it's so weird. I hear about this a lot. from a lot of sources. So anyway, there it is. Okay, so it's a decent little project. There's less work than I had thought, actually. Like,
Yeah.
in many ways, the fundamentals of this property are good. This is Mickey the dog, by the way. He says hello.
Hello,
He-
Mickey. Oh.
Mickey agrees with everything you say, Mandy. I just want you to know that. And so do I. Of course.
That's why dogs are
And
great,
so does
Nick.
Yeah. We're on holiday in the very west of Ireland. That's why I'm not in my usual office setup. But anyway, all right, great. I think it's a fundamentally sound house. The thing, just for context, you, in a sense, well, we knew because we would have pre-canvassed this, but you don't need a new roof. That's a bonus. The plasterwork is basically good. That's a bonus. And a load of the laminate flooring can stay in. Other bonus. Kitchen is good. Bathroom is good. It's just rubby. But overall, this is a very sound little house. A couple of minor threats with a bit of subsidence, but the surveyor hasn't flagged these up as serious. So fundamentally, it's a good little house.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I think once this property, I think because it's so dirty at the minute, it's been left the way it is. Once we've been in there and cleared everything out and everything, you know, it's had a lick of paint, it's been cleaned, it's going to look like a different property again. It's going to feel nicer when you walk through the door. So, yeah, this is the rewarding part for me, you see, to walk into properties like this. I mean, I like properties that have got swirly carpets in that have been there for, you know, 40 years, because the rewarding part of that is to take it from that and make it look beautiful again. And, you know, that's the rewarding part for me, because then you step back and you go, yeah, we did that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that note, let's do that with this nice little house.
Okay.
All right, then. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much.